This is the Sapphire Radeon RX 480 Nitro OC 4GB, a card released around July of 2016. It had the MSRP of $219, but here in Italy it was priced around €250 when it was first released on the market. In this video, I will show if it's worth buying the RX 480 now in 2020, almost 4 years after its release. Let's talk a bit about the history of this card. The RX 480 was top of the Polaris lineup, from the RX 460, RX 470, and then the RX 480. It has 2304 stream processors compared to the RX 470's 2048, making it faster. The RX 480 has two variants, 4 and 8GB versions, both being GDDR5. The RX 480 variant that we'll be looking on today is the 4GB version by Sapphire. Let's talk about aesthetics. This is probably one of the most good looking custom RX 480 that has been released. It has a metallic backplate with some cool designs behind it, with some holes in order to transfer hot air above the card much easier. The side facing the user when it's plugged in on the computer, assuming you don't put it vertically on the computer, has an RGB logo of Sapphire that's controllable by Sapphire's strict software. It can be changed with any color you want, and some other effects you might like. In the front, you'll see a pair of 95mm fans. Unfortunately, though, it gets a bit loud when it's spinning for more than 2000 RPM. The fans are easily detachable with the help of Phillips screwdriver, for easy cleaning and replacing. On the back of the card, you'll see an exhaust vent, 2 DisplayPort 1.4, 2 HDMI 2.0 port, and 1 DVI port. There's dual BIOS on this card. The switch allows you to change in each of them. There are no difference between the two, but it allows the card to have a backup in case of a failed overclock or a fade flashing of another BIOS. And the other is a button, in order to switch the LED light on the logo. And then, to power it, you'll need 8-pin power connector. Here are the specs of this variant of the RX 480 we'll be testing today, in the driver version. This graphics card will be running stock without overclocking throughout the video. That being said, here's the test system we'll be running it on. All of that away, let's see how it performs in some games. Let's start with Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Here are the settings that I used during the benchmark for this game. With all the settings basically set to high, the RX 480 was able to maintain around 80 FPS average frame rate with 1% loss of 66.3 FPS, making the gameplay fluid without any noticeable frame drops. With a performance like this, you'll sure be able to enjoy the game. But if you're willing to sacrifice some graphics quality, you can gain around 30 to 40 FPS, reaching more than 100 FPS on average. Let's pass on CSGO now and see how it performs. CSGO is no problem with the RX 480, delivering 205.4 FPS on average with 1% loss of 110 FPS. This game can be easily played with a 144Hz monitor. Lowering the graphics can yield around 240 FPS, so it's also usable for 240Hz monitor. Perfect for those people who wants to become a pro. The RX 480 is one of the best entry-level card you can buy for this game, if you want to achieve high frame rates. The next game is Overwatch. Here are the settings. Overwatch is running great on the RX 480. With the graphic preset set to Ultra, it was able to achieve 120.3 FPS on average, with a 1% loss of 85.3 FPS. This is more than playable with this kind of frame rate. The thing about Overwatch though, is even if you lower the settings, the graphics doesn't change that much. Lowering it allows you to achieve higher FPS for those people using 144Hz monitor or above. And now, let's talk about Fortnite. Let's see how the RX 480 performs. Fortnite runs smoothly on this graphics card. The RX 480 is able to maintain an average of 83.5 FPS, with 1% loss of 55.4 FPS. Even though the frame rate dips below 60 FPS, it's still fluid. Every casual player will be able to enjoy Fortnite with this kind of settings and performance. Though, if you're participating in tournaments or want to become a professional, I recommend lowering down the settings even if it taxes the graphic quality. FPS is more important than graphics if you're that kind of person. With the settings lowered, the RX 480 is able to maintain more than 144 FPS, perfect for 144Hz monitor. The next game we'll be testing is the F1 2019. F1 2019 runs amazingly on the RX 480. It's able to maintain an average of 86 FPS and 1% loss of 70.5 FPS. For me, racing games only need 60 FPS, and the graphics quality is set to max or high. Racing games, to be enjoyable, it doesn't need skyrocket high frame rates. I prefer having a stable 60 FPS and amazing graphics when I'm playing these types of games, and the RX 480 definitely delivers with these requirements. Let's see how the RX 480 performs in Forza Horizon 4. Just like F1 2019, Forza Horizon runs great on the RX 480, reaching an average frames of 72.2 with 1% loss of 59.8 FPS. Playing this game will be a pleasant experience. With this graphics card, you will not notice any lag during the gameplay. You'll be satisfied on how it performs. After taking a look on all of those games, here is my conclusion. The RX 480 is a capable graphics card in 2020, being able to maintain around 60 FPS or more in games at high quality. Is it worth buying used then? In my opinion, it is. It is worth considering if it spreads decently. I would buy one if it costs around €100 or $120. The only problem is, like any used products, we don't know how well it was treated by the former owner, so it's still a bit of a gamble, especially if it's been used as a mining card. What about the RX 580? Is the RX 480 better than it? The answer is it depends on the price. The RX 580 is just an overclocked RX 480, but the RX 580 itself can be overclocked even more. You'll most likely see around 3 to 5% performance increase compared to the RX 480. If I had two choices for an RX 580 for $28 or euros more than the RX 480, I'd personally take the 580. 4GB versus the 8GB version of the RX 480. Is there a difference in performance? The answer is yes. There's a little bit of a difference in performance, but you won't notice it during gameplay. You'll only see the difference during benchmarks when you see the numbers. This particular variant I got unfortunately runs a bit hot and loud on the stock settings, but overclocking and undervolting it help decrease the temperature and even the fan noise. Usually, card manufacturers will set higher voltage than the GPU actually needs, so undervolting really helps. But just like any overclocking and undervolting, your mileage will vary. Maybe in the future video, I will test the performance of the RX 480 when it's overclocked and undervolted to see how better it performs compared to the stock settings. And this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, have a nice day, and see you on my next video.